right, let's get into our next discussion now. We warn that this report contains flash photography. Now, the new man at the helm of the Department of State Services, Matthew Seiyefa, is promising change.
And he says the service under his leadership will uphold the principles of human rights, eschew sectionalism, and review allegations of unlawful detentions. At a news conference in Abuja, the acting DG said the service's performance will tell the story better than words.
Security correspondent Sifon Essien tells us more on this.
Matthew Seiyefa assumes the leadership position as the acting Director General of the State Security Service following the sack of the erstwhile Director General Lawal Daura on August the 7th by acting President Osinbajo. During Daura's 3-year reign, the service was criticized for unlawful detention and refusal to work in concert with other services, allegations which the federal government had denied. But the acting Director General says things will change.
Also cognizant of the fact that we operate in a democratic setting. So respect for the rights of people, of persons, whether they are group interests, group rights, or individual rights, will be adhered to. We will respect the rights of people, the rights of groups, so long as they are legitimate rights and they are engaged in legitimate actions. We will respect that. And we will work on the basis of our core roles and our core mandate, which is the detection and prevention of threats against the internal security of Nigeria. We will always bear this in mind.
He says the service would uphold national interest and eschew sectionalism.
I want to assure you that we will continue to protect the national interest.
The intelligence chief, who hails from Bayelsa State, promises to open up the service to public scrutiny and improve public perception.
Report us objectively. We'd like you to know that we are for the national interest in any situation. It's not a question of promoting any individual or sectional agenda. We promote and protect the national interest. And in doing all this, we are also cognizant of the fact that we operate in a democratic setting. So respect for the rights of people, of persons, whether they are group interests, group rights, or individual rights, will be adhered to. We will respect the rights of people, the rights of groups, so long as they are legitimate rights and they are engaged in legitimate actions. We will respect that.
Unlike his predecessor, Seiyefa wants to be judged by the actions of the service under his watch. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, yes, report by Sifon Essien there, introducing the new man at the helm of affairs, though, of course, he's in acting capacity. Well, we have in the studio a former Assistant Director of State Security Service, SSS, Dennis Amakri. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Dennis. Nice to see you.
For joining us. Before we start this discussion, let's even put it out there that there are latest reports that indicate that President Buhari, on his return from his 10-day break, there's likely to be a reshuffle, a reordering or reorganization in the DSS. So it is likely that Seiyefa himself might even be affected, or he might end up being substantive DSS DG. For a start, what do you think will be the major thing that Seiyefa has to tackle as he takes over at the DSS?
You've already listened to the press briefing where he stated the first things that he's going to do, and that is bring back the service to the core values, the core mandate of the service. There has been a large deviation from what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to behave and its interaction with the public. So I trust him. I think he should be able to deliver on this. If the president comes back and want to reshuffle or whatever, that's normal. That's normal. But the job has to be reordered right now, because the service itself has gone off on a tangent.
And that's a question that, I mean, leads one to ask exactly how or why did the DSS become so politicized?
Normally you find out that the intelligence agencies, especially, well, let me put it, the security agencies, police, SSS, NIA, EFCC, all of them are, put in a situation where they are not actually independent. They are controlled by the president. And if they are controlled by the president, they do whatever he says. And then there are different presidents coming in, and all of them come with their different agendas. Right from 1986, when the NSO was dissolved, and you have SSS, NIA, and DIA coming in. At that time, the president, the military president, has said that the NSO had outlived his usefulness, because he's been involved in all kinds of manners of arrest, illegal detention and stuff like that. And then he set up the SSS. And then when he got in there, he also started using the SSS the way he wanted, and then people started complaining. So it's basically a situation where the laws that set this organization have to be reviewed, so that they don't actually report to the president. Their allegiance should be to the country or to the constitution of the country.
All right, help us understand this. Sometimes it is called the DSS, other times it's called the SSS.
Yes.
Can you unravel this? Has it been changed from SSS to DSS? Let us understand.
The name of the organization is State Security Service,
Okay.
SSS.
All right.
That's what's in the legal books.
Okay.
I believe that maybe the DSS, during Abdul Salam Abubakar's regime, the DSS started popping out. It's like a nickname, and I think it was a way of watering down the SSS. It sounds like the German Gestapo, the SSS. Many people will be scared, triple S. So
Okay.
they put it down, water it down a little bit, and it looks like the American Department of State. So that's where they come with the Department of State Services.
Okay. All right. If we go into part of the press briefing that the new acting DG put out there, one of them, he talked about the issue of tackling unlawful detention.
Yes.
We know that some persons are still being held. And to some extent, some people feel that it is the interest of the president to keep those persons detained. Yes. So how challenging would it be for him if, I want to underline that word,
yes,
if it is the interest of the president that
yes,
such persons are held, and he's coming in to say, no, we have to reform things, we have to put things straight like you were saying. How challenging would that be for him?
There are two things involved here. First of all, there is no if,
Okay.
because that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
They will obey what the president says.
Right.
They are not an independent body. Even INEC is in a way controlled a little bit, but they are reporting to the president, and they cannot illegally arrest somebody and detain without the knowledge of the president. But the other side of the story is that we are a professional body. That organization is a professional body where they have the responsibility, especially the DG, to advise the president that certain things done are not good for a democratic society. Certain things done are against, the government in power. So the ability to take this advice will help. So he cannot on his own say that some people who have been detained. This is not the first time it's happening. Remember Mustafa?
Mustafa,
Yes.
Yeah,
under
the president at that time
Yeah.
kept him all along, despite all the court releases.
Okay. If we say that the body language of his principal may indicate otherwise, how is he going to be able to deliver on this promise? So, I mean, what has brought us to this point now may not even necessarily be about Lawal Daura. Maybe all along it has been about the body language of Lawal Daura's principal and he believed that he could do exactly what he felt would be in the interest of his boss.
Well, you know, that's why I said that this is a very, very professional body. And the head of that body should be able to convince his principals, because it is a situation where you are actually working towards the national interest. You know, the service there is designed to protect the national interest.
Yes, he should be able to, but
Yeah,
can
he should be able to.
Yeah.
And I believe he will.
Okay.
If he talks to, you have to engage with your principal. It's not a yes sir thing. You have to go there and tell them, this is the situation and this is the situation. For instance, the very situation at the National Assembly, if the former DG had discussed it with the presidency and the acting president has said, go ahead, then he does not have any blame. He does not have any blame. But if he goes there and the acting president told him, go ahead, and he told him, look, this is not right because there's separation of power and there is this and that and that, let's not do it. It's an advice. You can take it or leave it. And if you say no and anything happens, this blame will not be on the State Security Service. It will be on the person that sends.
Yeah, but in that case, deducing from what you said now, if the commander-in-chief says you have to do it, but because of your understanding of your professionalism and and all of this and this and this shouldn't be because of this and this, and he said go ahead. If you What then? Can you say I won't do it because
you have choices. In the case
what are the choices?
Yeah, for example, right now before the DSS, this present DG, there are 300 or so pending cases, including Dasuki, the former national security advisor, who's been held in custody in spite of many court rulings. You have El Zakzaki.
Yes.
And so
there
many
others.
And
there's several others.
The journalist from the Bayelsa journalist,
Jones
Abiri, still in the custody of the DSS.
Yes.
So will CFA have, what it takes to let a Dasuki go, for example?
Okay, there are two angles to this. One is the one we just discussed, engaging your principal and talking to them. The second one, which is even more fundamental, is to look at that case again and see why they are being held. Why is it that these people are being held? Maybe there is something the public itself is not knowing that keeps them there. So after considering all this, you want to. And then, of course, regular interaction with the public is a very good idea because, just like they did recently where they said that the house of the former DG has been ransacked and they found money and fake news that was all over the place. The spokesperson came out to denounce it and then of course told people what is going on. And that is what should happen in this modern day. The service had grown into the modern society where before some of the operatives' wives don't know where they work.
True.
Because they are in deep cover and they don't know who they are. Nobody knows where they work or who they are. But right now, society is changing and everything. I still believe strongly that operatives of the SSS should be incognito. But there should be a spokesperson that will explain things once in a while when things like this happen. Why are people wearing balaclavas and and stuff?
No, that's what you call it.
That's what you call them.
That's what it is.
Oh, okay. We call them masks.
We call them masks.
All right. Now,
like
it brings us to this same question because about a decade ago, people don't really know about the SSS, how they go about their activity, how they do their things and all of that. But as time went on, we started seeing DSS operatives everywhere to the level where people know who they are. They have what is it called, tags on them writing DSS, so you just know, oh, that's a DSS operative and all of that. Deducing from that and the activities in the past decade, what do you think is the perception of the public about them now?
Well, the public need to know more about that organization. They have to know more about it. The DSS is not just those people you are seeing that are wearing bulletproof vests and then balaclavas on their faces. You know, those are not just, those are protective services.
Okay.
Those protective services are the ones that do escorts, they are bodyguards, they go for anti-terrorism operations. And then the public can see them. But there are SSS operatives that you don't know. And those ones are undercover, you know, and you meet them every day, you know, but you don't know who they are.
All right,
So
let's quickly throw this in. Femi Falana, respected constitutional lawyer and human rights activist, has said that, look, there is a need for the DSS to respect the rights of suspects to consult legal practitioners of their choice before making, endorsing, or writing any statement or answering any question, especially based on the Anti-Torture Act of 2017 that has criminalized the use of torture in all security agencies. Obviously, this has not been happening in the DSS before now. So what he's saying is to move the DSS forward to where it should be. These are some of the things that the DSS needs to put in place.
Well, I think he should also, maybe he's not very much aware that when they make arrests, they actually Miranda the people. You know, they Miranda the people, they tell them their rights,
Yes.
you know, not to say anything,
Before,
whatever they say and whatever,
well,
you know. And then, of course, they have lawyers. There's a legal department, you know, which have a whole bunch of lawyers, smart lawyers that are advising. And then, of course, they can fall back on the Attorney General of the country. So they have enough legal advice, you know. So for people that are either locked up, that's why I'm saying that they should go back and look at all the cases again. And after looking at them, they will now come up with a decision on which they will present to the president or the acting president, and then they should work from there.
Okay. Well, we have to leave it here now for the issue of time, but at least we've learned two things. Balaclava, the one they cover the face. I've learned that today. We've been in classroom.
And it's not unique.
Yes,
It's not unique to the SSS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even
But it's
police,
part of the recommendations of Falana that they should stop, you know,
no,
using
he cannot recommend that. That
Okay,
means he
he
does
did.
not know how it's being
Okay.
used.
And then SSS is still SSS. The nickname is just DSS. All right, Dennis Samakri, former Assistant Director, SSS. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much.